Hey everyone, Neo Longs and Neo Shorts, and I think it's been a really interesting Q3 just reported earlier today. And from my point of view, always watching the net loss for Neo because I think that's what's gonna decide if the company and the stock price kind of moves realistically to much higher levels that everyone invested in this company would have wanted long time ago. And I have to be honest, although the entire Q3 numbers are on a complete point of view fairly good, I would say. There's a lot of positive stuff going on there. The gross margin goes up. That's always a good thing. Vehicle margin goes up, always a good thing. Although those numbers didn't go up insanely, at least they moved in the right direction. We can see that the average sales price also went up. That's again what a nice surprise. I was expecting them to increase it a little bit. Remember, my goal was, if we have a nicer view here, you can see that I had them at 38,000 quite straightly for the average sales price. You can see on line 37 there in the middle column, which is my expected numbers, and on to the left we have the actual numbers at 38,467. So gross margin up, average sales price up, cash position up, really surprising. Positive cash flow according to the CEO and the CFO. Loads of nice stuff, absolutely for sure. And if anyone tells you that this company is in a panic mode, don't listen to them. But sadly, I also have to be honest and frank with you. The problem for me always has been, always will be, the net loss. Look at this. So I was expecting, not I didn't have huge kind of amounts. I only wanted less than a 3% improvement on the net loss, going from 695 million minus to 675. That's all. That's all I wanted, based on a 8% or so increased vehicle delivery from 57,000 to 62,000. I don't think that's too much demanded, right? Especially as the gross margin goes up. Sadly, you can see here again, actually the net loss increased. Sure, you can say also the same kind of scenario for Xpeng, despite Xpeng actually having a really nice gross margin around 15%. So it's not like unique to Neo in this scenario. But still, I think, it would have been so nice to tick that box off, because you could have seen a kind of nice trend where finally the net loss slowly but surely goes down. But now in this scenario, it kind of went up. And the only thing, in my opinion, that saves today from being a really bad one, actually, you can see that the stock went down to start with really sharply. I think at some point it was down almost 7% or so. You can see here we were in 4.3, 4. But the only few stuff that I think saved the stock now is obviously the actual low valuation going into the earnings. Remember, this is like a company that is poised to make, I don't know, 350, 400,000 cars next year, and it's valued at 10 billion. So at the end of the day, the valuation is very low. But the only thing saving this from tanking, at least to date, is, in my opinion, the fact that the cash position went up, which gives a bit of quite needed headroom. Remember that I was expecting another 5, 6, 700 million gone there from 5.7 in Q2 to around 5 billion. But now we're actually at 6 billion. Not did they only not lose 700 million, that they managed to add to 300 million. So that looks great. That looks actually really nice. But the net loss is again the sore, the bad thing, the bad takeaway here. And I expected, if you now go to the expanded view for Q4, now they have guided for 72 to 75,000 cars. I'm thinking that is a more realistic than I was hoping for at 78,000. As well as, if you look at my expected gross margin for Q4, 11.8, I do believe that's doable. Honestly, I think that even if they increase let's say if we change this number here immediately to 70, let's go 4,000, right? So then we go from 26,000 increase in terms of vehicle deliveries quarter over quarter to, let's say, 19.6, which would mean that our net loss now goes all the way down to 543. Still probably too optimistic, because I do not believe that they're gonna cut the net loss from 721 million to 540. Maybe I have to sit down and make an update for my estimations for Q4, but probably we are talking about, let's say, 6 million, 620 million, 640 million, or at best case scenario there. So Again, nothing to be worried about today. The good thing about Neo is that the valuation is so low. So I wouldn't see a lot of fall height here. It's just a question of, are we gonna go sideways a little bit down, or is this is actually gonna explode way up? My hope is obviously, as a neo long, been investing in this stock for longest of time since 2020, 2021. I would love to see this stock going back up, and even not maybe competing with the likes of Tesla, but at least getting in the same pace of the likes of Xpeng. Look at Xpeng's 52-week stock price, right? They're sitting at least in the middle, whereas we are essentially at the bottom, right? So not a good feeling for shareholders. Another we are almost in end of 2024, and sadly this is what we get with Neo. And sure, it might be that there are some foul play out there, and some people are doing weird stuff. Who knows what its financial institutions are up to. But all I'm saying, it would be so easy to the management to essentially close all the critics down if they just, for love of God, slow down the build out on the infrastructure a little bit. Like, again, look at these numbers here. So now we are around 58 million all-time swap. But the sad thing is that, well, it's a good thing long term, but again, if you care about the financials, they build out 80 new swap stations per month over the last quarter, 240 over the last 3 months. And they're not showing any signs of slowing down. In fact, they're talking about building 1,000 or so swap stations per year now, at least for the up and coming year. And this means that, again, we are now just around 30 in terms of average swaps per station, nowhere near the utilization rate that we would have wanted to see. Remember that a few weeks back I was hoping for mid-30s at least. But now, when they hit the gas pedal again in terms of spending money on what we can see, obviously, not needed swap stations. Let's be honest about this. Like, we're talking 30 swaps per station per day. You're talking what? Less than 1.4 swaps per hour. You're telling me you need to invest all this money in swap stations for supposed future use, where you're at 1.4 swaps per station per hour. I remember that usually it's not average exactly 1.4 or 1.3 per hour. Probably you have, let's say, I don't know, a few hours in the morning and a few hours in the evening when everyone does more swaps. So if you just remove, let's say, 60-70% at the peak hours, it means that probably for 18 to 19 hours of the day, they barely have even one half of a swap per hour. Maybe they have one swap every 2 hours. And that is, I think the numbers explain it very easily, that they by no means need to invest this much money in new swap station at this stage. Slow down the swap build out, let's lose a little bit less money. Let's stop with all this, shenanigans of whatever it is, like 700 or so millions net loss every quarter for a company with a market cap of, what are we now? 10 billion. I don't know, it's difficult to say how much money they're actually spending on these swap stations. But if you're talking about 80 swap stations, please engage in the discussion. What are your point of view? Are we talking about 1 million per each? At the end of the day, that is like, what, 15 or so full pack batteries, and then you have the cost of the land, and then you have the labor and all the servicing and all that kind of stuff. Maybe, I don't know, it's difficult to say. I think a few years ago I heard about $500,000 per swap station, but if you just make it easy now after inflation, we say 1 million per swap station. That's 80 million per swap station, per month. So it means, like, probably even if you go with 0.5 to 0.7 million US dollar per station at 250 or so per quarter, we are talking at least 120 to 150 million US dollar that they are spending on swap stations. That 150 million would help us a long bit into getting closer to profitability. And I think, honestly, imagine what would have happened if the net loss came in from Q2 of 2024 at 694. Let's remove even 100 million from that to 594. Imagine how the stock would react if the net loss was at 594 instead of the expected, again, 700 from the analyst. Imagine the reaction on the stock. And imagine 4, 5, 6 quarters of these. Obviously, I've shown you we don't need these swap stations at this current stage, this many of them. It's obviously so clear. The utilization is, we're talking a little bit more than one per day. Sorry, one station, one swap per hour per day, per station. That's like, we don't need those swap stations. And imagine 4 quarters of positive surprise obviously would make the shorts be a bit much more scared. Maybe we could see a market cap of 20, 30, 40 billion, especially when everything has run up. And then by all means, if you're the CEO, heck, go out and dilute the stock and raise 5 billion or so more capital on a 30 or 40 billion valuation. And then, you can build 5,000 swap station with that money. Like, honestly, either I'm stupid or what am I missing here? Please explain in the comment section, because it's so frustrating. I think Nio is a great company. They have a great future. And I understand, you're spending for the long term, but honestly, there's so much potential that we are missing because of this extreme low valuation. I think the company could do so much more. Imagine if they did something like that and the stock price goes to 16 again and they raise 5 billion, and then slowly but surely they go back to 240 swaps per quarter. That is the right way. Either I'm stupid, please. I would love to see your comments here, but that's at the end of the day what's happening with Nio. So sure, the company will obviously survive, but is the stock price going up? Am I gonna tell you and tell all my friends that look at this company with great future? Sure, the company has a great future, but does the stock price have a great future? I'm not sure. Look at this. Look at the move down from the obviously way overpriced here. We should all of us kind of learn a lesson. But again, we have Xpeng. Xpeng to begin with for the past 90% of the time had worse fundamentals than Nio, and somehow they're just down. Well, they're also down, but at least they're down 13%, right? And they've been going way up, and at some point even they were actually plus. But if you go to Nio, for example, how much are we down per year? So you can see year to date, the Nio stock has down 50%. Like, come on, guys. We need better from this company. So that's gonna do it for today. Please like, subscribe, comment. I would love to see your comments. And yeah, see you in the next one.